I'm Lucas. I work on the Portals team at Google. Together with me, I have Carlos presenting today. We're going to talk about multi-page architecture. Carlos, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Carlos. I'm in the bfcache team in London.
Right. So just before we begin, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the sessions are being recorded and the videos are going to be posted afterwards. Yeah, we also have a code of conduct that is available for everyone to read. So if you haven't, please go check it out. So without further ado, let's start. So when we talk about multi-page architecture, I think the first thing that is important to make sure that we're on the same page, pun intended, is that what is a page? So a page is a collection of a main document and all of its iframes. So it's kind of a tree structure with where you have a main document and a bunch of subframes. When you're talking about spec, we call this a browsing context and a nested browsing context. So for the page and for the iframes. So it matches the intuitive definition of a web page. The same thing when we talk about a page load. So that's the same concept of page. So for example, if you type a URL in the Omnibox, you navigate to a new page. So it gives you a new page. So the main document is the document whose URL can be shown in the Omnibox. And the one important distinction here is that the Blink page is not really a page. So Blink page is so maybe in the past it was more a concept more similar to page, but nowadays with site isolation and everything, Blink page is an object that is limited to a single process. So while a page, as far as Chromium is concerned, can span several processes. So and also Blink page does not change necessarily when the main document changes. This happens in the same origin navigations. To give a little bit of a background, so why we started thinking about this multi-page architecture. So the Chrome team recently started working on several new features that share this common goal. And the features are bfcache, portals, and prerendering. And before we also had guest views. So when we started seeing all these new features going each one in different directions, we got together and we thought like, oh well, is there any way we can have a common architecture such that we minimize technical debt, the maintenance burden, and so on? So the features have in common is the fact that they all host multiple pages in the same tab. So guest views are used to implement web view on the Chrome apps, as well as the embedded PDF viewer within Chrome. bfcache, when a page navigates, the previous page is inserted into the cache for faster back-forward navigation or instantaneous. Portals allow an embedding of a page inside another page that can later be navigated into. And that page replaces the main page. So it's also part of the seamless and instant transition. And pre-render, also everyone should be familiar with. Pre-render is the next page for faster navigation. So what are the goals of the MPArch project? So we want to have a common architecture for all these features. We want to minimize the complexity and maintenance burden. And we want this common architecture to use the existing Chrome navigation stack so that existing features will not have to change significantly in order to adapt. There will be breakage and we'll have to fix a lot of things with this new paradigm. But the idea is that we want to be consistent with the Chrome's existing navigation stack. So in order to achieve this, we want to split the tab, the page, and the document concepts. So the tab is it's self-explanatory. So it's what the user sees in their UI. Now the page and the tab contents are a little bit more complicated because when you have just a single page per tab, these concepts can often be considered the same. But with multi-page architecture, you can now have multiple pages in the same tab, which this makes it a little bit more complicated. The page in the document has already been split by the site isolation project. So when Chrome moved on to having different renders rendering different iframes, we already had to separate this frame / page concepts. So what we need to do now is separate the tabs and the pages. So we expect these changes to be mostly browser side. Perhaps there will be no changes to the render, and that is a good thing. So the render's architecture already expects to be multi-process and all of this. So it's already at the place that we want it to be. And at the same time, we want to repay accumulated technical debt. So Portals, which has recently had an origin trial, bfcache has shipped recently, and they all, each implemented their own architecture, we could say. And so we want, by merging these features into a single shared architecture, the idea is that we're going to be repaying a lot of technical debt. And to give an example that already exists in the code today, we have the concept of a pending delete frame. So when the navigation happens, the previous frame, we run the unload handlers after the navigation is completed. So we call this state a pending delete, and it's already a state where we have a sort of an existing page that is also in the shares a tab with the current active page that just committed. And in this situation, like, what do you do when the page in the unload handler runs an IPC or calls an IPC to the browser and tells, well, change the some feature related to the browser. Now it's a little bit complicated because, well, which page is the active one? And we've had the bugs, bfcache team particularly fixed bugs related to this. So the key deliverables for multi-page architecture are hosting multiple pages in a single web contents instance. The pages may be active or inactive, visible or invisible. So for Portals, it will be visible. For pre-rendered, it will be invisible. For Portals, it will be active. For bfcache, they're inactive. So the concept of there's a lot of things that we need to consider, but the general idea is that we're hosting multiple pages in our web contents. And we want to be able to change the top level page of the web contents and choosing from the multiple existing pages within that web contents. So I want to just to give a little bit of an architecture overview. We have the web contents. The web contents has multiple page holders. The naming is TBD, but each of the page holders hold a page, and then the page can be activated. And I think I'm going to let Carlos talk about a little bit about the core navigation and the changes that are expected for the embedders. Carlos, do you want to take over?
You're muted.
Sorry. Okay, so where was I? Whoops. So yes, as Lucas said, so we have this web content that will be able to hold multiple pages. Some of them will be visible or invisible, depending on the use case. So let's have a look at a couple of those use cases. So for the pre-render example, the top level page there is visible, is the one you're looking at. So let's say we're looking at a search results page, and the pre-rendering for StarMagic determined you're likely to click on link to page B. So the pre-render will start loading page B, have it ready there on the side. You're not seeing it, and once you click on the link, instead of navigating to it and spending some time in it, we just like swap the page in, which is what happens here. So now you're seeing page B, and from a user's perspective, this navigation happened almost instantaneously, right? The pre-render could now be working on the next page that you want to click, and what happened to page A? So page A actually went to the bfcache. So it was also moved into the cache and it's sitting there waiting for you to click on the back button. So let's say you went to page B, you didn't like it, you want to go back to your search page. So you click back, and the page A comes out of the cache, and that happens also instantaneously. Another example, for example, of a portal activation. In this case, we have a page in a page. So page A is loaded and has like a portal inside it, which is holding page B. Now, both pages are visible, and you can probably interact with both of them. Probably the interaction with page B is a little bit limited because of the portal. But the user at some point now goes and clicks on the portal or interacts in some way with the page that we decide we need to activate the page B, which basically means B is going to become the top level page now. So this is where you would get when the portal activates. Page B is now the top level page, is the one you're seeing now. And page A, in this case, would go into a bfcache again. Navigating back is a little bit more complicated in this case, because when we navigate back, we have to take page A out of the bfcache and put page B back inside where it used to be. But yeah, that's something that's being handled then by the portal. So yeah, so we said we have multiple pages, but so we also have this new type of navigation, which basically moves things around, right? So this new navigation basically commits a page in the destination frame tree or the destination page holder, and using page holder as a page holder as a holder for whatever term we come up with, but it's basically somewhere where you can put a page in. And the interesting bit of this navigation is it's not hitting the network, right? So it just moves up an existing page around, which is almost instant, which is great. I mean, we're not reinventing everything. We're actually using a lot of the work that we already did in bfcache, and what we're planning to do is actually to generalize what already happens with bfcache today to use this. And this new type of navigation that moves pages around is going to be the foundation for implementing like activation adoption for portals and navigation to a pre-rendered page for a pre-render. So that's what's going to happen, and what's going to change as a result of this. First of all, let me tell you, we're still figuring out some of the details of this, of all those things. So I'm not asking you to start changing anything. What we would definitely love to is to hear your feedback about if you see any impact of these changes that those you would see in, like, especially from embedders. So please reach out if you see something that you might think is a problem. So as Lucas also mentioned a little bit, so one of the big things that are changing is, well, we can have now multiple pages in a tab. So we really have to make sure there's a clear distinction between a tab and the page. Right? There's a lot of code that assumes that there's only one page. So every time it sometimes refers to a web content, so sometimes refers to a page indistinguishable, and it just thinks, oh, it's more or less the same thing, right? And that stops being true. So basically, the general idea is we have to make sure there's no assumptions in the code that there's only one page per tab. The other big thing is, like, we have a different navigation type. So that's pre-rendering activation, portal activation, and back forward cache. So code will need to be able to handle those special types of navigations as well. And in order to make this a little bit easier, we're also working on a document lifecycle API. And the idea, or like one of the reasons we were looking into this, is to eliminate the need for people to be listening to navigations in the first place. So, and we'll see a little bit later how we're going to do this. So, distinguishing between a page and a tab. One of the easier things is, like, we'll need to pass render frame host references along more often, like to make sure that whenever we have an event, we can associate it with the right page, right? And the other thing is, like, you can no longer use the web contents, or you should not be using the web contents to access the page, because, well, there's no one single page anymore. Or at least if you do it, you have to be careful, and you need to know what you're doing. So that's one of the things. Web Contents Observer gets events about all the things happening around, and Web Contents Observer will now get more events, basically because there's more pages. So they will also need to filter out the events they're really interested in. So they'll have to look like, hey, which page is this event coming from? And this is something that should already be happening today for pending delete state, but we've found many instances where that's not the case. And given that the pages are really in the pending delete state for a really short time, some of those bugs have never been found. But well, I wouldn't say hoping, but we're expecting to surface lots of bugs in that area because of this. Another big thing is like WebContents user data. And this is also that we've been working a lot in bfcache, but it's basically we've seen a lot of code store page-related state in a WebContents user data. Again, because they were assuming there's only one page in the WebContents, so I could just store my state in the WebContents user data. An example I actually worked on was the theme color. Theme color used to be stored in a WebContents user data, so when the page loaded, I don't know, page would say my theme color is green and would store that in the WebContents user data. When you navigate to a different page, the first thing that happens is that that state gets reset, and the new page can put whatever it wants in there, right? So now the old page is in the bfcache, state has been reset, so when we navigate back and the page comes back from the cache, well, that color is gone. So it's no longer green, it's now the default, I don't know. So yeah, and as I said, we did a lot of work here already in bfcache, but we'll probably have to do something else. And we're still auditing a lot of code, trying to find this type of issues all over the place. So we're hoping, well, we're expecting to find more things. We're hoping to not find too many, but we probably will. So the other thing is we have a new navigation type, right? Up until today, we had like a navigation that would load a new document, a completely new document, or a navigation that would just navigate within the existing document. And the way code would like tell those apart is using this navigation handle is same document navigation. Now we have a new class of navigation that basically means show an existing document or move it around, move it to the top level, right? And we'll have it for restoring pages from bfcache, for activating a pre-render page, for activating a portal page. So we'll probably need to add something to navigation handle, right? Like we already have it for the back forward cache. We'll probably have, is this a pre-render activation? Is this a portal page? We're even considering maybe it's time to swap to an enum and stop having like a method for every single new type of navigation. Still think about it. The other important or the other interesting thing with navigation is where is the navigation happening, right? Now we could be loading a page in the background in the case of pre-rendering, or we could be loading a page in a nested portal. It's not longer in the top level page, right? And then there's the activation, which usually happens on the top level page. So, well, navigation handle is mainframe. Well, which mainframe, right? There's multiple mainframes now, so code will have to be careful now. And we'll probably have to come up with a good name for top level page. I'm using top level. That name has not been decided yet. It's still being discussed. But yes. So and committing a navigation in mainframe no longer means the top level page change, your URL change. That's no longer the case. And the other interesting thing that this poses, for example, think pre-rendering is now two navigations really. There's one first navigation that loads the page and keeps it in the background. And there's another navigation that actually shows you the page. So yeah, you could say a navigation, you need two navigations now to actually change the URL. And okay, so I was just talking a little bit about navigation. So you probably get the idea that navigation is becoming a bit harder. So we want you to worry less about them now. And that's the idea behind the document lifecycle API. Many features listen to navigation events to figure out what's going on with the document. And they're not really interested in the navigation itself. They just want to know what's happening with the document. For example, there's code that listens to did finish navigation to determine when a new document becomes the active one, right? And update some UI or hide a pop-up or something. And basically what that code needs to do is every time a did finish navigation happens, they have to check, oh, did this navigation commit? Did it succeed really? Was it not at the same document navigation? Did it happen on the mainframe? And I would have to even add like, did it happen on the top level page? And you see how this gets complicated. And really, the only thing I want to know is, did this document get activated, right? And what we're thinking for this document lifecycle API is to get like a lifecycle state change event that will tell you like, hey, this render frame host became the active one. Okay, go hide the UI, go do what you need to do. You know which document this is now. So that's the idea behind this lifecycle API. So very quickly, what's the status right now of the project? We have a prototype working with the NPR architecture for the pre-rendering use case. it always pre-renders the exactly same web page, so it can only show that page instantaneously, and it doesn't immediately crash. But we haven't addressed many issues. So like at the moment you start interacting with it a bit, it probably crashes. We're also finalizing a lot of details in the design. You've heard me during this presentation say, like, we're still thinking of this, we're looking for more things. I'm giving some examples here. For example, we're looking at what state needs to be moved along with the pages, like internal state from content, not from the features. What are the changes that are needed in the content public APIs? Like we're talking of like the navigation handle, for example, needs some sort of change. We're also thinking about migration plans because, as we said, like Portals is using multiple web contents right now. GuestViews is also using that. And the idea is that we want to migrate everything to NPR. So we're still looking at how exactly we're going to do that. And then we're also looking at more detailed things, like, for example, what happens if there's an in-flight navigation when we activate or when we move a page? Does that navigation get canceled? Can we not move the page? We're still figuring that out. We're discussing a lot with the navigation team, and we're really hoping to get an initial approval for the designs very soon, so we can start sharing these documents more widely. We're looking to finalizing the design by the end of the year, hopefully. And as I said, we're also auditing all these problems. Like, for example, another one is WebContents get mainframe, right? Yeah, well, do you really want to get the mainframe? Do you want to get probably something else? So yeah, and once we've done with this auditing, we'll probably also have a better idea of all the work that lies ahead of us, and we can start coming up with some estimates and timelines for the next year. But we're really aiming or hoping that we can start actively implementing some of this NPR stuff by Q1 next year. So that's that. And yeah, but there's some, see also here, I think, I probably should put some of the links to the documents here as well. We'll probably do that later. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had. So time for questions now, I guess. Ray, yes.
So this is going to add. It seems like this is going to add a lot more sort of states and state transitions that pages can go through. And I know I've added over time as people usually file security bugs as they find interesting ways to navigate things around and get code, for example, that expects get mainframe or other sort of navigation events to mean various things that have security consequences. Get that kind of stuff wrong. Is there a plan to try to make it easier for people to develop sort of a suite of test cases that will validate that features behave correctly under these various kinds of transitions, so that like I can, plug my feature into something that will go and navigate it forward, navigate it back, use it in pre-render, put it into bfcache, take it out of bfcache, or at least maybe a document describing kind of the types of tests one would want to add. We've had similar problems with things like garbage collection, where if you insert a garbage collection in just the right place, you can cause various issues. And so it might be helpful to give kind of a guide for feature developers on common pitfalls and examples of tests and ways to get the system into various states in order to exercise particular cases, now that we're adding more possibilities.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking at as I said, we're auditing the existing code. We're looking at all those possible pitfalls, and we definitely will come up with guidance, and we'll also be trying to make it harder to use the code wrong. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking into, for example, adding this the web contents user data. Oh, I think I forgot to mention. Let me go back to a slide. I think I went over that without considering yet. So web contents user data, you should be considering using render document host user data to attach data to a specific document. And we're also looking into having something similar to page user data, where you could attach state to a page instead, right? So so we're looking at making the APIs harder to misuse, if that makes sense. But we'll definitely have to need to write some guidance. And the testing point is also a very good point. I don't think we have something like that for bfcache, but I think we've considered we actually thought about how could we automate like testing or something so that we go through all those states? But yes, it's definitely something I'm thinking of, right? As you said, like the more we add more states, the more we make this more complicated, the more important it becomes to be able to test it somehow.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is probably just good examples of how to get a page into various states so that future developers can write their tests. You know, maybe automating them is a lot to ask, but at least providing documentation of like what how you can get yourself into a state in order to validate that the feature behaves correctly.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like documentation will definitely have lots of documentation around this. Any more questions?
Will the guest view be converted to this new page concept as well, and get rid of the whole guest web contents concept?
Yes, that's the plan.
The plan is that we're going to convert everything. No promise in the timeline though. Just to add that. Just a reminder, if people want to ask questions, there's also the BlinkOn mailing channel on Slack.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.